This is the regular meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. Can you call the roll, Chris?
Member Craven? Here. Member Craven present. Member Nee?
Here.
Member Nee present. Member Cawthon?
Here.
Member Cawthon present. Member Washburn excused. Member Knebber?
Here.
Member Knebber present. Member Johnson?
Here.
Member Johnson present. Member Chu?
Here.
Member Chu present. Member Chan? Member Chan absent. Member Goldman?
Here.
Member Goldman present. Member Williams? Member Williams excused. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Great. Are there any agenda changes?
There are no agenda changes.
Okay. Can you call number 1, please?
Item number 1 is approval of minutes for December 2nd, 2008 and January 6, 2009.
I have various corrections to the minutes, which I've marked up. I'll just give to Chris rather than go through all of them here.
They're non-substantive?
Right, they're just, capitalization here and, yeah. So.
Are there any other changes? Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
I move to accept the minutes as amended.
Second?
Can we call the roll?
On the motion, Member Craven?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Public comment on this item? Seeing none.
On the motion, Member Craven?
Aye.
Member Craven, aye. Member Nee?
Aye.
Member Nee, aye. Member Cawthon?
Aye.
Member Cawthon, aye. Member Washburn? Member Washburn excused. Member Knebber?
Aye.
Member Knebber, aye. Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Johnson, aye. Member Chu?
Aye.
Member Chu, aye. Member Chan?
Aye.
Member Chan, aye. Member Goldman?
Aye.
Member Goldman, aye. Member Williams excused. Madam Chair, we have 8 ayes.
Can we call the second item, please?
Item number 2 is determination of jurisdiction on complaint filed by Peter Witt against the Tax Commission for failing to include public comment in the minutes, failing to correct the minutes, failing to grant requests for information, and failing to disseminate or retain public correspondence.
Members, this item came before us in the complaint committee. We found jurisdiction, and I move that this body find jurisdiction as well.
I second the motion.
Because of the way the agenda has been written, we're not going to take public comment on the jurisdiction. We take public comment once for each item. I apologize, and we'll fix the agenda for next week so we can take public comment on that.
On jurisdiction, Member Craven?
Just a clarification. Was there a contest of jurisdiction by the department or the? Nope. Okay. Aye.
Member Craven, aye. Member Nee?
Aye.
Member Nee, aye. Member Cawthon?
Aye.
Member Cawthon, aye. Member Washburn? Member Washburn excused. Member Knebber?
Aye.
Member Knebber, aye. Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Johnson, aye. Member Chan?
Aye.
Member Chan, aye. Member Goldman?
Aye.
Member Goldman, aye. Member Williams? Member Williams is excused. Member Chu?
Aye.
Member Chu, aye. Madam Chair, we have 8 ayes.
Mr. Witt?
The little guy who always came and never said anything.
We're ready for you.
Yeah. He was sick when he was here, that's why.
You just arrived.
And he was sick, that's why he had to leave.
Mr. Witt, you have 5 minutes. Yes.
Not going to be set up time at all. Just arrived.
Thank you, Chris.
In case you didn't get one, we might have an extra. Everybody got one?
Is there an extra for the respondent agency?
Well, I don't see her, so I don't think it's for her.
Chris, if you could set aside one for the respondent if she arrives.
Is she coming?
Mr. Witt, you have 5 minutes.
All right. There, that's it. Actually, right there in your hand. Thank you. Just leave it. Everything with the clip. That's mine. My mistake. Okay. So, how much time do I have? First of all, I listed 4 complaints, and I only see 3. Is one of those not in your jurisdiction? I'd like to ask that clarification.
Why don't you please state concisely your 4 complaints, and then we can ask Chris.
My 4th complaint was destruction of evidence that was submitted as public correspondence. That's my 4th complaint. I noticed you addressed 3 of them.
Why don't
See
you
that?
go ahead and do the entire?
Well, I would like to know if that is in your jurisdiction or not. Number
Destruction of
4th
documents?
complaint.
We
I was
have-
not here for the hearing to decide jurisdiction on that because I was not notified of that hearing, that it was going to be held at 3:30, and I was also not notified that it was you that contested the jurisdiction and not Ms. Thigpen. So I assumed, there was no correspondence to me that indicated that you had trouble deciding whether it was in your jurisdiction or not, because it is a repeated complaint. So I'd just like to know that, clarify that, for the record.
This is all part of your 5 minutes.
I understand that. For the record, I'd like that clarified. I don't have a response. I assume that's not in your jurisdiction, which I assume it's in the ethics complaint department, which you should recommend it to go to. Now, commissioners,
But let me just say, may I, through the chair? The complaint has 4 prongs. 1, failing to include public comment for the record in the minutes. 2, knowing failing to correct the minutes. 3, failing to grant requests for information. 4, knowing failure to disseminate or retain public correspondence from the public intended for PC&N use. Were all of those issues decided on the jurisdiction? To Member Goldman?
The entire complaint was moved forward with.
Then all 4 are at issue.
then number 4 is an issue which is not mentioned in your complaint. I wowould like that put into your complaint. On August 12th, I bring this up again because it's an old complaint that the Compliance Committee pushed aside and said there was not enough evidence. However, the last time I was here, several times ago, we clarified that. I showed you a tape of August 12th. It was clear that I was not allowed the use of that projector. However, the determination was that that prevented me from speaking. That did not prevent me from speaking. And the subsequent speaker, Barry Toronto, was allowed to use that projector. That was not in your determination of the date. I can't recall because it's not in front of me. However, the minutes read, Peter Witt conducted 6 surveys and showed the commission one of them. Now, I remind you, commissioners, on August 12th, 2003, I was thrown out of that commission hearing, I believe. And so I was not allowed to show, I was not allowed to show my survey, as the minutes clearly show on August 12th. The minutes say, and showed the commission one of his surveys. I did not show that commission one of the surveys. That's just one example. The next meeting, August 22nd, 2003, Peter Witt presented a survey from the city controllers. Well, here is that survey from the city controllers. I presented a survey that I conducted, and it was a public writer satisfaction survey. All right. That was not included. All right. The tape, we can go over that if you like. Thereafter. And you, commissioners, or whatever you are, task force, on April 10th, there, let's see. The words are not included. That's April 10th, 2007, by the way. It's in the complaint, my recent one. Mr. Kennedy is missing in that He's not even included. Also, he is not included for a second time, as well as Mr. Thomas and Charles Rathbone, Barry Toronto, Rua Graffis. My statement is missing in there. The fact that I spoke was missing. I can point out all these times. Again, for the second time, by the way, Mr. Kennedy, you have these. You don't have these minutes, but these are all available online. All these commissions are available online. I hope you took the time to examine February 13th, 06 meeting. Because again, it's riddled with people that showed up but never are included in the minutes. Now, a number of times this has been pointed out. Mr. Kennedy pointed it out on April 7th, 07, but nothing was done. Commissioners, I say commissioners because it's a habit of mine. I've been to enough commission hearings. Now, Ms. Thigpen, I wish I had this in order. I wish I could bring this microphone over here. But in 05, there is a memo from the Cali Castanero. It states that they're going to do a data analysis following, and they were going to hire somebody. Well, that never happened. And 07, let's see. Oh, this is terrible. Well, I'd like to talk without the microphone.
You need to talk on the microphone so you'll be on the record.
Yeah, I understand that. And now, I'm sorry I don't have a speech written in front of me, but I do actually. Let me bring it up. Just little tiny notes. You have 3 packets in front of you, including my complaint from August 03. The reasons that date is important is because you missed the point of the projector.
Thank you,
The
Mr.
course,
Witt.
isn't that just a warning?
No, we don't. It's just the end. There's no bell in here that does that.
Oh, that's a shame. Thank you.
Are there other parties to the complaint that wish to present facts and evidence? Seeing none, is there someone from the city to respond? Seeing none. Chris, have we talked to anyone from the taxi commission?
Nobody contacted us.
Did they respond in writing? I guess
They were
didn't.
informed
They
by
didn't.
email, and there wasn't any response.
There's nothing in here from them.
Does the taxi commission exist anymore?
Yes,
It's being managed under the MTA?
today's meeting at 5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Witt. So the matters at the task force for discussion and questions. Please. Member Nee?
Thank you. It's kind of inconvenient here that Mr. Witt has submitted to us several pages of what I guess is additional evidence at the last minute. This makes it difficult for us to do any serious deliberation and come to any kind of a fair conclusion. I would like to see this because of that. Maybe it's a good idea to continue this. At the same time, the fact that the taxi commission has failed to send anybody here, I think, should be noted, possibly as a violation of 6721E, I believe it is. On the other hand, if we do continue this, which I think is a good idea, then we can also withhold any violation motion, giving the taxi commission another chance to show up and respond. But I think just the fact that we have all this additional new evidence that Mr. Witt has submitted right now, not giving us or the respondents or the public a chance to look it over, I think that merits continuation, and I would so move.
I'd second that motion.
Thank you.
I had a question.
Please.
I don't know who can answer this, but maybe Chris, Mr. Rustum, and maybe Mr. Witt can answer it. Is the taxi commission still in existence? And does Ms. Thigpen still work for them? And you didn't hear from you. You had no what communication did you have from them?
She did contact me by email about a month, I believe, ago, asking for a copy of the complaint.
But did she respond to the allegations?
No, she did not.
Don't they have to respond in 5 days? I mean, wasn't that
That
another
is a
violation?
requirement, yes.
Another violation of 67.21? I certainly can go for a continuance, but I think that we need someone to come here from the department and tell us what their position is. And I have a question for Mr. Witt. Mr. Witt, I'm not clear if your complaints are about things that happened in 2008 or if you're going all the way back to 2001 to 2004. Was the 150-word thing 2008? Was that October of 2008 minutes?
I believe that started in '04
But
and
I mean, you
continued,
said-
and continued after your order to put them in.
So, I mean,
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes. It was a continuous violation. It was pointed out in '04, '05 by Mr. Kennedy and myself, and corrections were never made. And again, the '05, that complaint has just carried over throughout the years. Nobody, and I requested all those submissions, by the way, to see what they actually kept on record, because they're supposed to put those in the minutes, but they don't even put them in the minutes, and I'm pretty sure they don't even keep them. They throw them away. But '08, you decided on my fourth complaint that they violate, or my third complaint, excuse me, they violated it. Then I filed a fourth complaint, and then she admitted, it was to try to save money, and I don't believe that was the case. And so that, well, the 150 words, specifically that, she's attached them. I can go on the last meeting on the 13th of January. She didn't include my words, my summary, and then on another topic, she attached my statement at the back, but she left out the fact that I spoke at that item. So in other words, my name was not on the item, and the words were back in the end of the minutes. And on the other topic, my words were not in the minutes, and I didn't submit a brief. I just gave a speech, and the speech is not in there. It just says attached. But there's.
Mr. Witt, what
Yeah,
I
I'm
would
sorry.
suggest,
I hope that answers your
I think the
question.
continuance is probably going to pass, and what I would suggest, because it's confusing to me, and I read the whole thing. It took me a long time, but I would show the minutes, bring copies of these minutes where you are saying there's nothing about Peter Witt in the minutes. So you need to give us something to look at to prove what you are saying. And the attachment should have been, the 150-word attachment should have been to the minutes for the October meeting. Is that right? You should bring us copies of the deficient minutes so that we can see what you're talking about.
I will. It was
Okay, thank
February.
you.
Yes, thank you. I will.
Okay, good. I'm finished.
Okay. Erica?
I'm not necessarily in favor of a continuance here. This is a very confusing item. To the extent that you're seeking reconsideration of August 12, 2003, I don't think it's before us, so I'm not sure why that's being raised. To the extent that you're complaining about a failure to comply with our last order of determination, then, as Member Cawthon says, what you need to do is provide the copy of the minutes that you're complaining are deficient, and perhaps bring a tape or a DVD of that discussion so that we can see how or whether the minutes were deficient. You can't just say, go and, your task force members go and pull up those minutes online. You have to submit that information to us so we have it and we can look at it. And then you have to lay this out very carefully. The complaint is very confused. It doesn't speak clearly to what you're complaining about. And I know you've been here a number of times, a number of issues, but it's your job to identify the issue. And I think you can. You're used to this. Identify the issue. Here are the attachments for that very issue. Here's why there's been a violation. I haven't seen that done. I've seen you refer to us to go look at this, go look at that. That's not in front of us. That's simply insufficient. So if this is continued, which I don't believe it should be, if you could do that for us, it will help us frame the issue that we can, decide this on the facts as opposed to argument.
Any other member
I just had a
comments?
final thing.
Yes.
if it is continued, I would just urge Mr. Rustum, and I know he does this anyway, but I mean, Ms. Thigpen has been very responsive to us, so I don't know what's going on here. So maybe you could, use your usual charm and find out why she didn't get back to us at all.
It could be that she suffered from the same problem I was, which I don't understand what this complaint is about.
Maybe she has a cold. We all have colds.
Is there a second motion? No,
Do I get 3 minutes of rebut?
not yet.
There's nothing to rebut.
Nothing to rebut.
Do I get 3 minutes?
Yeah, you'll get them. Did you want to to dismiss? Okay. Now, Mr. Witt, 3
Did you
minutes.
make a motion to find violation, Member Coffin?
No.
No.
Oh, well, wait a minute. We have a motion on the floor.
Yes.
So we have to vote on the motion before we can go on to another. Well, how can we give rebut? There's nothing to rebut. Then nobody appeared for the other side.
We have a procedures, and I feel comfortable following them. Which, at this point, the respondent in the complaint presents
Rick
clarifications,
made a
rebuttals
motion
for up to 3
and
minutes.
I seconded it. Sorry.
You have 3 minutes, Mr. Witt.
Thank you again, Task Force. Let me make it clear. On August 12th, 03, Bruce Schaller gave his report that he was hired to give. He was an expert in the taxi business, and he was brought in to figure out a way to analyze availability and service in San Francisco. And in that statement, he goes on to say that the taxi study that were performed were fine, except it was critical that a customer service survey be done to evaluate the quantitative analysis of the customer riders. Now, this is what I performed in 1999 and submitted every year. I submitted one of these surveys, 1,000 customers, this thick, $35 for a copy. That's what I'm talking about that was missing on that day. Not that day, but the next day on the 27th of August, 03. Now, I can go through 04, 05, 06, 07, 08, all the minutes of those meetings, every time I submitted a survey and what was said in those minutes. Those minutes do not reflect the fact that I submitted a survey. In fact, the last minutes that I submitted the survey, which are in 08 after you gave your order, it just says I submitted a survey. But I spoke too. It doesn't reflect any of the things that I said. Now, I can recall April 10th, 07. I can recall November 7th. I can recall February 13th, 06. Numbers of people were missing. I pointed out, if you got an email, I sent you an email that lists 11 different times that speakers either were not included or the minutes were not representative of what they said. Summary of what they said is supposed to be in those minutes. These are obviously not there. Now, this is critical in evaluating PCNN. Okay, for PCNN purposes, you add cabs based on evidence. Now, the anecdotal evidence that was submitted and mine omitted was not worthy of a true and honest form of government. That is not a democracy that was being done. It was dictatorship. It was a skewed survey that was pigeonholed. These were cherry-picked. The surveys that were conducted, the last one that was conducted was 2,000 emails sent to City Hall employees. 41 responses. It's a 2% return rate. The margin of error is incredible. They didn't even ask the question, do you want more cabs? Yet the analysis by Jordana Thigpen says that they wanted more cabs. It was either a clean yes or no. No maybes. No ifs, ands, or buts. No demographics done. No age. We know age is a factor.
Thank you, Mr. Witt.
Thank you.
In case this matter is continued by the task force, I think Mr. Witt needs to know that the validity of their decisions and the evidence on which upon the Taxi Commission based it or didn't base it on is not before us. We can do nothing about that. We can't reverse their decisions. We can't say go back and consider Mr. Witt's survey. That is all beyond our jurisdiction. What is within our jurisdiction are complaints that, for example, the minutes were not complete. And if that's the basis, we need to have the minutes from each meeting that you claim was not completed, and evidence in the form of either a tape or a video showing why that is. That's the only issue that can be before us. So if the complaint can be limited to something that's within our jurisdiction, it will help us reach the decision. I just encourage you to.
The matters, yeah.
Thank you.
So we have a motion.
We have a motion and a second to continue.
Yes. We actually have a
I call the
process, and we
question.
haven't even gotten to the public comment. It's written here in the small type. So we are now at number 5 out of 7. My feeling on this is, with another month's worth of time to read all this, I'm not sure that I'm going to come up with a real understanding of what's happening here. So I think that I would probably move to dismiss. Yes,
I just don't think we should dismiss something when the department apparently has been deficient in not responding. That's a violation of 67.21, and it's also, what was the other thing they didn't do? They didn't respond in 5
Well,
days in writing, and they didn't respond, and they didn't send anybody to the meeting, so we need to find out about that.
Well,
And I mean, Mr. Witt has been counseled that he should bring us evidence to the next meeting. And if he can't provide the evidence, then we can't vote on it. But I think he understands that we want the minutes, the deficient minutes, and we want videos showing that these things in fact occurred. And
I suspect that when he does narrow it down, it will be very different than it looks today.
Well, and he should do that.
So then why wouldn't we dismiss, he refile, and we end up at the same time, same place, talking about the same thing, but just more clarity?
I mean, why does he have to go back and do it all over again? Why can't he just fix his mistakes next time? It's simpler. You don't have to go through the whole process again with another number and on and on. And then we could have the opportunity to ask Ms. Thigpen to respond. I call the question.
Maybe take public comment?
Member Stephen Crossman. You know, the Ethics Commission has a provision that if they receive a complaint from someone that's the evidence of clear madness, that they can dismiss it. And that's all there is to it. I have no clue what this complaint is about, really, and I don't think the test for time is well spent on this matter. I think that if they want to have a focused complaint, they can file a focused complaint, but I don't think continuing it's a good idea.
Is there any other public comment? Public comment is closed. Ready for a vote? I did make a motion. I didn't get a second, though.
Yes, there was a second.
To dismiss?
I
Oh,
seconded
to
it.
dismiss?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, shouldn't we first vote on the motion to continue and then vote on the motion to
Okay.
That was first,
to
that was
dismiss?
moved and seconded.
We have to vote on the first motion that was
Yes.
made.
Yeah.
Then we
Thank
vote
you.
on the
Continuance.
second motion that was made.
On the motion to continue the matter, Member Craven.
No.
Member Craven, no. Member Nee.
Aye.
Member Nee, aye. Member Cawthon.
Aye.
Member Cawthon, aye. Member Washburn. Member Washburn excused. Member Caneva.
No.
Member Caneva, no. Member Johnson.
Aye.
Member Johnson, aye. Member Chan. Aye. Member Chan, aye. Member Goldman.
Aye.
Member Goldman, aye. Member Williams. Member Williams excused. Member Chu.
No.
Member Chu, no. Madam Chair, we have 5 ayes and 3 noes.
Fails. Fails.
Yes.
Next motion.
What?
I think someone should counsel
Sanchez?
Mr. Witt in case he didn't get it the 4 times we said it. That we urge him to, if he feels strongly about this, to file another complaint and
Thank you, Sue. Thanks.
succinctly list his issues
Okay.
and bring us evidence.
Ms. Sanchez, if we don't act on this, what happens to the item? We have no motion, either way.
At this point, you can make a new motion.
Mhm.
You can just continue the item, but it failed to be continued. So I would say we just,
Through the chair? Is a motion to continue a substantive motion to which quorum a majority of the members of the board must attach, or simply a majority of those members present? Is it procedural or is it substantive?
You have to have a majority of the, not the quorum, but the body. So that's 6.
For for a procedural motion, is a motion to continue a procedural or substantive, and is there may not be a distinction, but
I don't know if it's the distinction, to be honest with you.
I think a motion to, I hate to say it because it's against my case, but I think a motion to continue is I think it's procedural rather than, what's the other?
substantive, but
Substantive, yeah.
substantive. But the issue is whether or not one or the other is a difference.
The chair can rule on it. You can rule on that, whether it's a procedural matter or a substantive matter to continue.
Right, Ms. Cawthon, but I'm still waiting for Ms. Sanchez to answer whether or not there's
Okay.
a difference in the vote.
Okay.
You know what, if you give me a few minutes, I'll give you the answer. Do you want to move on to the next item?
Sure.
And we'll let Mr. Witt can either wait or we can let him know.
Can we go on to number 3?
Item number 3 is the determination of jurisdiction on complaint filed by anonymous tenants against the Building Inspection Department for failure to provide a copy of a permit application.
Members, this came before the complaint committee. We found jurisdiction, and I move that this body does as well.
Second.
Can you call the roll, please?
On jurisdiction, Member Craven?
Aye.
Member Craven, aye. Member Nee?
Aye.
Member Nee, aye. Member Cawthon?
Aye.
Member Cawthon, aye. Member Washburn? Member Washburn, excused. Member Knebber?
Aye.
Member Knebber, aye. Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Johnson, aye. Member Chan? Aye. Member Chan, aye. Member Goldman?
Aye.
Member Goldman, aye. Member Williams? Member Williams, excused. Member Chu?
Aye.
Madam Chair, we have 8 ayes.
Is anonymous tenants here?
Yeah.
Before we
you have-
begin, I need to disclose that I use the department, I get records from the Department of Building Inspection, and in fact have recently requested records, but did not ask them to produce anything from an electronic file, so I feel I can be objective on this matter. And I think that my insider knowledge of how the department does things would be helpful.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Good afternoon, members. Anonymous tenants here. In the city attorney's memorandum regarding our complaint, he states 2 relevant facts in dispute. The first issue, whether DBI has the capacity to scan and send documents as an emailed attachment. We provided you a copy of Miss Anita Lee at DBI email letter dated September 3rd, 2008, which clearly states the director's secretary who has the scanner has emailed the documents. That was to us. We believe this proves that they have the capabilities to scan. In addition, Sunshine Ordinance Section 67.29-2 and 67.21-1, I believe, requires them to maintain a World Wide Web and make public records available to the public. The second issue, whether DBI has the responsibility to scan and send requested documents. This issue has already been challenged and ruled on in the case of Mr. Kimo Crossman versus Ethics Commission, complaint number 08031 on October 6, 2008. And in December of 2006, the Board of Supervisors, they unanimously approved a policy, file number 061418, directing the clerk of the board to provide documents to the public in the form requested, which is mandated by Section 67.21-1 and 67.21. A couple of other things I'd like to point out. Not only does DBI want us to go to their office to pick up one document, one piece of paper, waste an hour of our time, 2 hours of our time, they want to charge us $6.50 for that one document. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there other parties that wish to give present facts and evidence? Is someone from the city here? Hi.
Call you a commissioner or members?
Members.
Okay. Good afternoon, members. DBI does have scanning capability to provide public records in PDF format. I have a copy of an email dated December 1st, 2008, from the manager of permit services at DBI, Mr. Lawrence Cornfield. I quote, "Here is a copy of the PDF format. that you requested. In addition, the Secretary of the Director of DBI also provide request document to the public in the PDF format. Obviously, the manager, Confield, and the Secretary of the Director of DBI do believe that it's their responsibility to comply with the code and law by providing the public records in PDF formats and send it to the public as requested. The question here is not if the DBI has the scanning capability and the responsibility, because they have and they do. The question is, do you permit certain DBI employees to make unreasonable excuse in order not to provide the public records in PDF formats? Your determination would decide if a DBI will or will not provide the public record in PDF format, as the law requires them to do. Each and every public servant at DBI shall be required to fulfill the mandate of Sunshine Section 67.21-1 and other Sunshine ordinances. Thank you. And also I have Manager Confield's email regarding the document in PDF format with me. If you want a copy, I would be glad to hand it to you.
Okay, not at this time, but thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clarification, was that woman speaking for on behalf of DBI?
No, in favor of the complaint. The anonymous tenants.
I thought they already spoke. Are they sharing their 5 minutes?
In support.
The party is-
Parties in
Got
support.
it.
There's that. Is someone from DBI here? Okay. You have 5 minutes.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm William Strawn, the Communications Officer for the department. I'm here with our Custodian of Public Records, Alan Whiteside. We would just make the basic point that we do not typically manage our records this way. We have a long-established procedure and policy that Mr. Whiteside went through very carefully and clearly in his initial email correspondence with the other side on this matter. And he made it very clear why we don't do it that way. In the last fiscal year, we had nearly 12,000 microfilm requests and more than 106,000 pages of documents that the department manages. Our consultations with the city attorney made it very clear that we have the right as the department to establish a process that is fair and equitable to all of our customers. Everybody else follows this. We do not normally make PDFs available because of the multiple-step process that it takes in order to print a document from microfilm, scan it, set it up as a PDF, and then send it out. I would also say that we don't get requests like this. So I really don't think it's a matter so much of our capability, but the reality is we don't have the capability to meet the demand of the record volume. And I would ask Mr. Whiteside to just tell you briefly about that process.
Good afternoon, Alan Whiteside, the Custodian of Records of the Department of Building Inspection. Our process is that we are now scanning the current building permits that come in. By the time this request was received, we had already scanned the document into a file. This file is for our internal use only, and copies can be made from it. But as a email from the 767 North Point group people say, when this can be accomplished by pressing one button on a computer, we do not have the ability, we do not have the software, we do not have the hardware, we have no ability to sit at a computer, call up a document, and then email it as a PDF file. This is not in our procedures, and we don't have the ability to do it. Again, we've treated everybody fairly. My email said you may come down in 2 working days and get your copy and be treated like every other customer that works in this. I don't know why they could not come down, but we did go out of our way to make this available as a normal request, filling out the forms for this group ourselves, and making the documents and sending them to the counter to be paid and picked up for. Again, I'd like to say, we do not have the ability to do what is requested. Sit at a computer, call up a file, press a button, and send it out as a PDF file. It is not our procedure, and we just don't have the ability to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Matters with the task force for discussion and questions. Ms. Craven.
Mr. Whiteside? So you
Yes.
were, I'm confused by your answer a little bit, and I noted that there wasn't a written response. Just I didn't see a written response to the task force.
Mr. Strom handled all the responses to the task force.
Right. It's generally helpful if we can have the department's position in writing beforehand so we can read it and then ask questions, and hopefully in future complaints that if you're ever here, hopefully you're not, that would happen. But with respect to the current procedure, you said you received first of all, the document that was requested, that was a permit application?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So you get that 11 by 13 or however long that.
8.5 by 11-inch pink form.
Right.
8.5 by 11, 8.5 by 14.
8.5 by
pink
14.
Pink form.
Document in your office, and you testified that you, as normal procedure now, you scan them.
Yes, that's right, correct.
You scan them into what format?
We have a software program that we paid for, and that is scanned into the software program.
What program is it?
It is called Paper Flow.
Paper Flow. And where do those documents reside?
They are
On one server, for example?
They are,
or-
yes, they are put on a server, on a CD, I believe, and then downloaded or uploaded to a server.
Okay, and then who has access to that server? Like who, for example, can a building inspector who's the permits within their jurisdiction, their district? Can
No,
they
at the
pull up-
moment.
I'm
the-
sorry, can they
at
pull
the-
up that from
no,
their desk?
No, he cannot.
How does he get a copy of the building inspector, or he or she?
They have to submit a request just like the public. We have both external requests for the public, and we have internal requests for government agencies and within our own department. So nobody.
If I'm the building inspector, then I'd have to go send you an email or call you and say, I need copies of this permit that I'm going to go out and inspect.
Yes, our procedure is that actually they do fill out a two-part form, have it signed by the supervisor, and then they just usually send it over inter-office mail from the main building at 1660 Mission to our 1650 workshop.
Okay, so then that's how they get a copy of the permit.
That's how everybody gets a copy of the permit.
All right.
Yes.
But my question was just
Yes.
for like the building inspector, for
Yes.
example. And the cost then, how are those costs set?
The costs are set, their new costs were set by a survey that was done by a private company that reviewed our old costs and determined their costs. I think Mr. Strom could
Yeah, Mr. Strom, give me.
explain that.
Sure. Look, and I think I did point this out in an email to Mr. Rustum, that as of last year, actually in July, the Board of Supervisors passed unanimously an ordinance that for the first time in the 16 years the department has been in existence, updated the fee schedule.
The fee schedule.
And this particular series of costs is located in Table A1L, as I believe I also indicated in my email to Mr. Rustum, that the board passed it unanimously. Actually, even most of the customers who were going to be paying the higher fees as of September 2nd of this past year supported unanimously the department catching up with recovering costs. We are an enterprise department. We don't receive any general fund money. That means we have to pay the cost of our operations completely through whatever fees we generate.
Thank you. Mr. Rustum, why isn't that email in our packet?
I did not place it there because it came in on my private email. It did not go to Sunshine. It came to my separate. I actually did it as a separate communication between Mr.
But if it was germane to this complaint,
It's relevant.
Member Cawthon, I'll handle it. If this is, and if you have anything additional, you obviously can add it. But if it's germane to a complaint, then no matter where it was sent, it should be included in the file, in the consideration. in the future, let's do that. Because Mr. Strong has hit on exactly my concern here. I empathize with anonymous tenants, and I want to see the city and all of its departments increasingly use efficient ways of providing records to members of the public. But there are a host of records within this city that are provided at a certain cost, generally according to cost schedules that are approved by a commission or by the Board of Supervisors, copies of police logs, copies of marriage certificates, copies of building inspection forms. These are set by certain procedures that everyone has to comply with. And so I find myself in a situation that I don't think is necessarily contemplated by the Public Records Act or by the Sunshine Ordinance, where you have a type of record to which many people seek copies, to which the department has set a fee schedule that's been approved that charges a certain amount, which would be severely, the revenue generating capacity for those copies would be undercut by charging 10 cents a page, or perhaps by emailing without a fee. So, I mean, that's my concern here, is that there are a number of enterprise departments or other departments that don't run from the general fund, or may run from general fund in some situations, like the assessor's office, that have charges based on, and I believe yours is probably sounds like it's based on the actual cost of duplication, the cost of the software, the cost of the making the copies. And I'm not sure that's trumped by the Public Records Act. And I'm not sure whether the city attorney looked into that. I'm sure we didn't ask Mr. Lorente or Ms. Sanchez to do so, but it's something that I find, the decision point in this case.
But the cost is not part of the complaint. Oh, I guess it is.
It is.
And then there's the question of the technical capabilities.
Right. Were they required to scan and email it?
Right.
And were they allowed to charge $6.50? And as to both of those questions, I think when you have a record, you have an enterprise department that has a fee schedule and a procedure that's been approved by the Board of Supervisors, I'm hard-pressed to find that it's a violation of the Sunshine Ordinance for failure to provide it not according to that schedule. Even though I think we should encourage departments to do so, I don't think there's been a violation.
I have a comment. Mr. Strachan, when you deny someone, or when you set a fee for a production, for paper production, there is a requirement in the Sunshine Ordinance that when you charge a fee in excess of 10 cents a page, that you produce a document that sets forth the actual cost of producing it for you. In other words, it would be the cost of whatever the equipment costs and who the equipment manufacturer is. There's another section of the Sunshine Ordinance that requires departments to, insofar as they are able, to buy computer electronic equipment that makes it easily and economically accessible to the public. So so that's what I'm pointing out. And my question is, do you ever produce, as required by the Sunshine Ordinance, a printout of your actual cost in producing one document, one hard copy of a document?
Well, I know the fee schedule that is currently online on the DBI website and has been online since last July goes into very specific detail what the fees are. And I know there is a specific table, this 1AL, that refers precisely to this process Mr. Whiteside was just talking about. The analysis that led to those numbers, as I understand it, were done by the consulting organization, Matrix Corporation, that actually produced that analysis. I'd be happy to get a copy of their report and bring it to you because I'm sure there is a section in there that details exactly how those costs were arrived at.
Yeah, I have seen this, your Appendix A1L, but it simply states the charges. It doesn't state how they were derived, and that is a requirement of the Sunshine Ordinance, so that I think
Well, as
that
I
would
said,
be
that
valuable.
document is online. The matrix report has been online since, I think, last March or April.
The A1L report is online.
Well, yes, they're both
I
online.
didn't see
My only
anything
point
about how
is-
you derived your cost. You say that's online?
Yes,
Where is that?
It's called the matrix. It's part of our fee schedule report, and it's called the matrix report. And while I don't know it by memory, I'd be happy to take a look and send you the relevant section. But that is a public document, has been a public document, and accessible since probably last May or June at the latest.
Okay, thank you.
James?
I'm inclined to agree with Member Craven, especially since the department it is a special case when the department has to cover its own costs. I think that it's not specifically laid out how this reflects the 10 cents, so I'm inclined to find no violation as well.
Yes.
I just wanted to read you a Sunshine Ordinance section to see if I can help you in your deliberations. Section 67.28D, it states, a department may establish and charge a higher fee than the 1 cent presumptive fee in subdivision B and the 10 cent presumptive fee in subdivision C if it prepares and posts an itemized cost analysis establishing that its cost per page impression exceeds 10 cents or 1 cent, as the case may be.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's
for
what I
reading
was
that.
talking about. And you say you do have that online?
We have that report online.
And does the report break down
And the report
the
breaks
costs?
down, I am told by the supervisor of the Public Records Department, Ms. Herrera, for whom Mr. Whiteside reports, that the cost breakdown is there. As I said, I don't know it by heart. I'd be happy to look and bring it to your attention.
Thank you. If there's no other comments, we'll move on to the respondent and complainant both have the opportunity for clarification or rebuttal. That would start with this city. Do you gentlemen have anything additional to add? It's sort of part of our process.
No, I don't believe so. I think that we've stated our position.
Thank you. Does Anonymous Tenants have anything additional to add? You have 3 minutes.
You've wasted a lot of time over the cost. My complaint had never said one word about the cost. It just said that they did not provide us a document PDF form. For one, times have changed. The procedures, our old procedures, they have to come up to date to reality in the 21st century here. They say they scan the document and they put it in their computer. A computer can be accessed internally from other people, and they can access that document and send it by email if they want to us. It doesn't have to be, taken up separately and scanned and do a bunch of other things. They can do it by their computer. So if they have it in their computer, they should have the capabilities of anyone accessing it. 67.29-2, it says they're supposed to maintain a World Wide Web. So we can access these documents. 67.21-1, public records should be made public for the people over the networks. So, I mean, they have the capabilities, they just don't want to do it. And I think should wrap it up. Thank you.
Thank you. The matters of the task force for a motion. Do we have a motion?
I have another comment. A lot of neighborhood organizations and actually a lot of individuals have reason to ask for permits or for other documents that are generated in the building department. And if you charge $6.50 for each page, you're going to cut out a lot of people who can't afford to pay that. So, I don't think I have enough information to vote no violation. I have seen their fee schedule, but I haven't seen the matrix report, which indicates what their actual costs are. And I'm just talking about the basic fairness of one of the things we've been doing is we've been trying to get people to provide information electronically to save them time and money, and to save the public the effort of having to come down and pick things up, and also to pay excessive costs. So, I mean, I just can't in good conscience vote to no violation on this.
Okay. Mr. Whiteside, can I ask one question? You said that you scanned it into your software paper source or
Paperflow software, yes.
When you scan it in, does that become a PDF file, or does that become a specific file to that proprietary software?
I don't know. I'm assuming it just becomes a file to that software.
I would think so too, or you internally would be dealing with things in electronic files, and so that's my assumption in the first part of this, is that it's not that it became a PDF, it became something else, and to get it to be a PDF, you have to actually take it out of its current file. And
Yes, again, as I said before, we have, even though it is on a server and we can call it up and look at it on a computer, to put it into a PDF file, of which I don't know how, but I've been told that we would have to therefore print it and do an extra step or 2 or 3 to send it out as a PDF file. I did have in one of my notes here from the city attorney who said that we don't have to reprogram computers to respond in this way. And to Ms. Cawthon there, I would like to say that the $6.50 is the minimum charge for a records request, whether it be 1 page, 2 pages. It's $3 a page is the new fee, plus with a minimum of $6.50. So it's not $6.50 per page. As my original email to the 767 North Point folks said, that they can come up and pay this at $6.50 and come down. Or they could have sent us a check in the mail, and we would have mailed it out to them. Or we would have gotten the record to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Nee?
Yes, I am very uncomfortable with all of this. Section 67.21(1), subsection B, I think is very clear on what the ordinance requires. And this has been in effect for almost 10 years. The voters passed Prop G in November of 1999. And the fact that you have established procedures that do not meet that do not meet those requirements, I don't think that's an excuse. And if there is a motion to find no violation, I will vote against it.
Thank you. Members, we don't have a motion yet anyway. Does anybody wish to make an motion?
I have a comment. We only have 8 people here, and one member has already indicated that she doesn't think there's a violation. I mean, this is so important. I just can't stress. I work a lot with land use, and I work a lot with neighborhood groups who really need to have access to DBI documents. And to impose a $3 a page cost, well, I have seen nothing to show what the actual cost is. I realize that they are an enterprise department as opposed to a general fund department, but I have not seen the Board of Supervisors ruling that says it's okay for them to do what they're doing. There was no response from the department, no written response. I mean, we asked Mr. Witt to bring us verification. I would like to see verification when people make these comments. Mr. Strawn is a man of impeccable reputation, and I know Mr. Whiteside personally. I think very highly of him. Wait,
we can take a motion on either way.
I mean, I would like to continue this and get some more background before we vote. There's no violation. I mean,
I'm not comfortable to do that. I can believe that the number of people that need to touch a document to get it to the public and find it and search for it could cost $3. Personally, I'm comfortable with in a department that size. But we can also have a motion to find violation. I mean, I'm looking for any kind of motion.
I mean, I was told that, and as Mr. Whiteside testified, most of the documents that they receive, they do not keep in paper form. They immediately scan it to microfilm. So that means the public, and you should go down to the building department or the planning department sometime. The place is mobbed. All these people are down there trying to get information, and if they have to pay $3 a page, and some of these things are many, many pages, it adds up to a whole bunch of money. And the developers can afford it, but the public can't. And we're here to represent the public.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Regarding your point about the number of people required to do this, I don't believe that is a factor under law. I believe that material cost is the determinant there under CPRA and the Sunshine Ordinance.
It's material cost? It's like the cost of the paper?
Basically, no fee, this is what the ordinance says, no fee shall be charged for making public records available for review, right? And it goes on to discuss what the fees can be. And then it tells departments if you want to charge something higher than the 10 cents or 1 cent, then you have to prepare and post an itemized cost analysis. So it would have to be out of an itemized cost analysis.
Of hard costs or?
Tell her what section that is. It's something.
No,
D.
it's not.
It's 67.28D, which Ms. Sanchez already read to us. The cost per page impressions shall include the following costs: 1 sheet of paper, 1 duplication cycle of a copying machine in terms of toner, and other specifically identified operation or maintenance factors, excluding electrical power. Any such cost analysis shall identify the manufacturer, model, vendor, and maintenance contractor, if any, of the copying machines or machines referred to. So, it does seem it can include the cost of software, of maintenance factors.
Not people.
Not people. No one mentioned people. I mean, maybe the chair mentioned people, but it can include the cost of the machines and the software, annualized over the course of however long it's in existence, and that to me sounds exactly what was in this cost matrix that was done, and that is apparently online, and that was apparently approved by the Board of Supervisors. I think we may have debates about whether it was appropriate that amount, but it sounds like all of the procedures have been followed in this case. Now, I think there's a separate issue about whether or not the department should be encouraged to implement computer systems that would reduce those costs. It sounds like they haven't. I would be in a different position here if all the inspectors, for example, could pull up these permits on their computer and save them in PDF at their desk. If they could do that, I might reach a different conclusion here. For whatever reason, the department has set up a system where this information is stored, it seems, in one part of the organization, and it seems to me perhaps inefficiently. Everyone, even internally, has to comply with that. Is that the best policy? No. Is that a violation of the Sunshine Ordinance?
Yes.
I wish members of the public wouldn't comment, but that's something, that's a different question.
Do we have a motion? We're back to our original question, Ms. Sanchez. Which is what happens when we don't have a motion.
This is, Ms. Sanchez can answer this. In the past, if there's no motion, that means there's simply no action taken, there's no order of determination, and nothing further happens.
Nothing happens.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
First of all, question, what's the section of the California Public Records, 6253?
9
9.
is the one you're thinking of.
I move to find violation.
I believe the language of that is provide an electronic copy that is used or easily generated by the department. I don't think there's been any testimony that's easily generated by the department. But
the department has failed to implement a system that could do that.
well, that's a violation of the Sunshine Ordinance.
And they have 10 years. Well, there's also 6253.9, which states that the format is up to the discretion of the requester.
Only if it's one that's utilized or easily generated by the department. But we can read the section. I think the violation that and this is, I'm not saying what I'm in support of, but I think the violation you're focusing in on is the one of the Sunshine Ordinance for failure to implement a computer system.
Correct.
That's just my take.
Okay.
I'm also thinking of 67.21L.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
I move to find violation of 67.21 21-1B, 1, 2, and 3 inclusive.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Public comment?
Members, Kimo Crossman. Gosh, this went off in a weird angle. A couple things. First of all, you've already ruled twice that converting paper to a scanned PDF is completely acceptable under Sunshine and required under Sunshine. He already said he can print out the microfiche document. Why he can't print it out and then send it to the clerk staff to have it scanned in and emailed, I have not heard any reason why that can't be done. It should be done. And you cannot charge for staff time on producing records. You can't charge for redaction time. You can't charge for searching time. You can't charge for copying time. Those are not relevant. You cannot charge for them under the Public Records Act. Otherwise, departments would start saying it's $10 an email. Every email you ask for, we're going to charge you $10 because it takes staff time to create it. That's not acceptable under Sunshine. So you can only charge material costs. Now, they have not presented here today justification for their material costs. They've told you to go look for it somewhere else that you don't have access to. So you can't rule on what they're saying because you don't have the facts to judge it within. All they said is they did a survey of other building departments around the state about what they charge for the records, not what their material costs are. That's a completely different scenario. The other thing is, again, there's been no testimony that they can't print the record out from the software system onto a piece of paper, send it to someone who has an ability to scan it, and email it to the requesters. And let's be very clear. The dispute here is about providing a record as a PDF to them. It's not the charge thing is a whole different issue that was mentioned as an aside on the matter. If you look at the major original complaint, it's about getting a record in PDF format, and you've already ruled multiple times, and the Board of Supervisors even agree with you on that people should be able to get records in the formats they requested, paper or electronic. And I agree with Ms. Coffin. This is a major issue. I think these costs are being set to discourage people from getting information. And by say, all right, you want it $3 a page, and so people don't do it. And I agree. I think it's discriminatory against the poor that can't afford to get the public records. So I think that's completely wrong, and I think you should find significant violations here. And I agree with Mr. Nee about, they've had 10 years to implement this. If they bought a new system, then they should have this ability to produce it.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment? Oh, I'm sorry. Because you've given testimony already, you can't give public comment. Thanks.
I completely agree with the last speaker, wholeheartedly. My name is Peter Witt, yellow cab driver, 20 years, native San Franciscan, 50 some odd. That's a half a century.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment? Seeing none, let's have a vote by the task force, please.
On the motion to find violation of 67.211B 1, 2, and 3. Member Craven.
Pass.
Member Nee.
Aye.
Member Nee, aye. Member Cawthon.
Aye.
Member Cawthon, aye. Member Washburn. Member Washburn is excused. Member Knebber.
No.
Member Knebber, no. Member Johnson.
Aye.
Member Johnson, aye. Member Chan.
Aye.
Member Chan, aye. Member Goldman.
No.
Member Goldman, no. Member Williams. Member Williams excused. Member Chu.
No.
Boosts.
Madam Chair, we have 4 ayes and...
No.
Yeah, she passed.
I'm sorry.
Member Craven?
Member Craven.
Aye.
Madam Chair, we have 5 ayes and 3 noes.
Thank you. I believe we have a motion on the table for item number 2. Oh, no, we don't have a motion. Does anybody want to make a motion?
No.
On-
I believe there was
a motion failed.
I believe there was a question.
Yeah.
We have the vote. We already voted on the motion. The question is, with a vote of 5 in favor, and I believe it was 2 against, or was it 3 against?
5-3.
5-3 on a motion to continue, whether that's sufficient to have it continued as a procedural matter, or if all votes, procedural or substantive, need to have a majority of the body, i.e. 6.
So again, we're in the same position as last time. And the answer is basically that at this point, because the motion failed to get a majority vote, the motion failed, and thus the item dies.
Okay, so there's no difference between a procedural vote and a substantive vote in terms of the number of votes required to pass.
Right.
I have a question. If I wanted to bring forward a motion to rescind or to reconsider, I was on the side that got the most votes, but the measure didn't fail. So which side am I on? I'm sorry. I'm on the side that got the most votes, but the measure still failed because we didn't get the quorum. So
You were not on the prevailing side.
that's okay.
If the body at this point wanted to file or move to rescind your previous vote, your previous motion, you could.
Okay.
And at that point, if that motion passed, you could make another motion to do.
I move to rescind and so that we can reconsider it after we have more knowledge. I haven't seen the critical documents that have been presented to us today, and if we made Mr. Witt, if we ruled against Mr. Witt because he didn't have the valid documents to prove his case, I really do think that the department should have provided us with A, their fee schedule, and B, their matrix company report.
Point of order.
Their cost.
Point of order.
So I think that
Member Cawthon has made a motion. Discussion may not ensue unless there is a second.
I think you're making a motion on the item that just closed.
I'm making a motion to rescind and reconsider.
Rescind what?
We were just talking about item 2.
The vote that just failed.
That motion is out of order.
But out of order.
Because
I thought Ms.
a motion to rescind a previous vote must come from someone on the prevailing side. You were not on the prevailing side.
I understood Ms. Sanchez to say I could do it.
I didn't understand that way.
Okay, I went downstairs. And
Sorry?
I went downstairs and I inquired as to what you could do here. And by the way, one of the suggestions I was going to make was that we can draft rules and regulations for you for future procedural, to follow procedural motions when you find yourself in this situation. Currently, you don't have any procedures, but if you're interested in coming up with procedures to decide how you would handle this situation, we would be happy. And what I was told, what I was advised was if you reach this point and someone wants to rescind wants to move to rescind the previous vote, that person can move and then if that passes, you can then move to continue again or move to dismiss, etc. But at the end of the day, if you don't make a decision, the item dies.
Okay?
So what we need now is a second to Member Cawthon's motion, if any.
Okay, and I'm just going to reiterate what I just said, that it seems to me that if we're making Mr. Witt if we found Mr. Witt if we didn't pursue Mr. Witt's claims because he didn't provide us with definitive background, I don't see anything from the department that provides the background. We don't even have the fee schedule in front of us. I certainly would like to see the matrix study, which shows the list of fees. Are they adding in labor? So it seems to me that I would like to rescind the vote so that we can consider this further, because this is a huge issue.
Are you talking about number 2 or number 3?
The motion that I'm speaking to is the one I just made to rescind the vote.
For which one?
Which item?
2 or 3.
Didn't we vote to find, what was the 5-3 vote? No violation?
On the DBI thing or on the taxi commission?
On the DBI thing.
Okay, you keep using Mr. Witt's name.
The reason I'm using Mr. Witt's name is I'm making the comparison between Mr. Witt's case, in which he didn't have the information that we needed to give us the background to vote for him.
Okay, so
but we simply just, let me finish, please.
And
No,
number
we-
3
we
was
just
closed.
dismissed the case.
Number 3 was closed. We went to number 2. We were trying to figure out what we were going to do there. Do you have anything? Do you have any other comments? Because right at this point,
I'm talking about the case. I'm talking about Anonymous versus DBI, and
Okay.
I've moved that we rescind the vote.
The problem is that the chair believes that number 3 was closed, and we went back to number 2 to figure out from Ms. Sanchez what, in fact, a 5-3 vote meant on a procedural motion to continue. Now the issue for Ms. Sanchez to decide, because I have no idea about any of this procedural stuff, is whether or not, after we've closed an item and gone to back to number 2 through the call of the chair, can someone raise an issue as to item number 3?
I was confused myself. I thought we were talking about item number 2. I don't have the answer.
We're not
for
talking about item number 2.
Member Cawthon?
I
I'm
understand
talking about
that.
item number 3.
We understand, Member Cawthon.
I can go research this answer for you. If you
My
open an
instinct,
item.
if I may suggest, my instinct would be it's to the call of the chair to reopen number 3. If the chair does not want to reopen number 3, there could be, I surmise, a motion on the board to overrule the chair on that and return to number 3 and take up Member Cawthon's motion. I would respectfully suggest this so we can have the vote that my Member Chu might wish to reopen item number 3. Member Cawthon and Member Chan, if he's still here, can remove their motion and we can vote on it.
so I'd like to finish number 2, take 5 o'clock public comment, and then come back to this item.
Okay.
I'll give you a little time if you want it. Are we ready to close number 2? Does anybody have a further motion with number 2? Okay, item number 2 is closed. It is past 5 o'clock. We're happy to take public comment on any items not listed on the agenda.
And just for clarification, the vote on item number 2 was to continue. That motion fails. No further action will be taken on this complaint. That's the resolution.
Yes, thank you. Is there any general public comment?
On items not on the agenda.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Michael Petrellis. I have a complaint that's on the agenda for later on. However, what I'm talking about now has to do with a complaint I filed that Mr. Rustum did not put on the agenda, and I would like to be put on the agenda. There's a group called Equality California Institute. On their board of directors, you have 2 city department heads, Phil Ting, the assessor, and Jose Cisneros, the treasurer. Also on the board of directors is Gwyneth Borden, who is on the planning commission, and Laura Spangian, who's on the public utilities commission. So you have 4 city employees, 2 of whom are department heads who sit on a 501c4 tax-exempt organization's board of directors. I believe because you have those 4 city employees, 2 of whom are department heads, sitting on that board of directors, that I'm entitled to the minutes of their meeting and what was on their agenda. Now, I filed a sunshine request for the calendars for 2008 for both the treasurer and the assessor. And this is the second part of the, maybe it's a 2-part complaint. For the assessor, Phil Ting, his calendar showed that on December 6 and December 7, for both days, he was at the board of directors meeting for this organization, Equality California. So 2 dates are on his official calendar. On the other hand, for December 6 and December 7, when this board of directors was meeting here in the city, the treasurer, Jose Cisneros, shows nothing for his calendar. So that's a separate part of the complaint that I want to file, is that this is an incomplete calendar from the treasurer, because I know he was at this meeting. And my request is that at the next committee that the complaint I originally filed, saying that I am entitled to know what was discussed at that meeting, what was on the agenda. The sunshine applies because there are 4 city employees, 2 department heads, and then the calendar for the treasurer is blank for 2 days when I know he was at this meeting.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment?
Members Kima Crossman, I just want to remind you of your responsibilities to represent the public. Here, you're here to represent the public, and in fact, your rules say that you are to find all inferences for the public. When departments come up with newfangled ways to make it hard or costly to get public records, it's your responsibility to find in the favor of the public. The ordinance is very clear about that. And I detect, I'm concerned that I get a sense that on occasion people are not as familiar with the Sunshine Ordinance and the public record law as might be helpful, and they tend to rely on the advice of a city attorney like Ms. Craven when sometimes she is not accurate in her interpretation of the law. And I'm concerned, each of you have an independent responsibility to represent the public, even the people who are poor and can't afford, public records, that whatever it may cost. And I would encourage you to read the ordinance and read the California Public Records Act if you haven't done that, and become fully aware of the requirements in it. And I think today's difficulty with voting and all that somewhat reflects the ongoing problem of requiring 6 votes to pass a item. It's unfair. It's unfair to the public. When they file a complaint, they still have to get 6 votes no matter how many people are here or aren't here. And that needs to be changed. It's been an ongoing complaint of unfairness, and I would, again, encourage you to change your rules to treat people more fairly.
Is there any additional public comment?
How much time do I get?
3 minutes.
Members, good members. I see that you're not all good members. I would consider this a slap in the public's face. I'm talking about your due diligence. There is a rule, California 11, it's a 1997, well, it's a case, specific. It has to do with quasi-judicial authority and about the retracing of the legislative body's analytic root analysis. It's a root analysis. You have to find out what makes government tick. So when you want to retrace their steps, you need to go back in time to find out the process, how it's done. Now, I submitted some evidence earlier in a case, and it has to do with the Board of Appeals. And I filed a while back an appeal, and that appeal was denied, and they gave an order. That order was not followed through. Those records are not available. They are missing from a public entity. I've requested those records. They have not appeared. And I've had no excuse for why they do not appear. Yet there are findings, PCNN findings. There are laws on the books about quasi-judicial legislation and the analysis that they have to take, the route that they take. They are responsible. Some bodies of government are responsible, some are not. Clearly, this body in 03 could not see the evidence, but in 07 did. What made the difference? The fact that you had time. Now, when I come up here with a long list of complaints, there is no time to go through them. I cannot give you historical retrospect. So I think that I have to file 7 different separate complaints to be heard 7 different times to get the proper attention that is needed in a case of deliberate cover-up, manipulation of public material for corrupt politics. The crony system is in place here in San Francisco. The Taxi Commission is a candy-coated poison pill. It's made to look and appear working, operating properly.
Thank you.
But that, excuse me, is a little off the subject.
Is there any additional public comment? Oh, I'm sorry. If you've given testimony already, you can't. No, general public comment. Sorry.
This is my first time. So.
It's not my first time, and I shouldn't be making those mistakes.
It's really shocking to me. This is my first experience. I would think that we have a open government policy. I would believe the department will submit the written response and have some clues when we come here. What are they thinking? What do they have? But I guess they don't are required. They just open the mouth and talk, and then we have no idea what they're talking about. Actually, to me, I do not understand what are they talking. They are talking about the law, or they're talking about why they're entitled to charge. I believe that when the complaint is not the issue of the money, and then when it become an issue, and because they changed the subject, and I would think that that's really not fair to the public, and should be known what they are based on, the statement or the representation. We have no idea, and then I think that it should be improved. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment?
Good evening. I've been to several meetings, Board of Supervisors and that type of thing, and continually, every meeting I went to when I was complaining about something or contesting something, the city employees would continually lie, deliberately lie, false statements and everything. And I've proved it. I've proved it with the city documents, records, and all this. And this could be the same scenario here. I mean, you should have some kind of proof for people to back up what they say, and to prove that the statements they make are proof, are real and not false. And if you're here to protect us, we should be able to get this information. We should be able to get documents very easily, as the code says, and it should be made readily easy. And not just because there's a money factor involved and things like that. And, I guess if it's difficult for them or anything like that. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment?
I have a point. If there's no more public comment, I have a point of order. Can I comment on the public comment?
Members are allowed to respond, as I understand it. Ms. Sanchez can confirm, are allowed to respond briefly to issues of public comments, but are not allowed to take action upon it or reach a determination on anything that was mentioned therein through the chair, at the call of the chair, I believe. Is that correct, Ms. Sanchez?
I mean,
Go ahead, sir.
We've been pretty relaxed here, letting members speak and respond to a public comment if they want. What I just wanted to draw the members' attention to is 67.21G, which Mr. Crossman alluded to, which says in any court proceeding pursuant to this article, there shall be a presumption that the record sought is public, and that the burden shall be upon the custodian to prove with specificity the exemption which applies. So this is why I would like to reopen the discussion about item number 3, anonymous versus DBI, for the purposes of talking a little bit more on this fact. So I will so move that we reopen the discussion on item number 3.
Is public comment closed?
Yes, comment closed.
a second.
Then we
Is there a
have-
second?
Madam Chair,
Please.
I believe the motion is out of order. The matter was closed, and I think that to bring it back, we would have to agendize it for the next meeting.
There's been a ruling from
I have
there's been a ruling from our deputy city attorney that
I'm reading.
any member can reopen a matter with a motion. Now we'll have to vote on that motion
At the same meeting?
Yes.
at the same meeting, and then we'll have to vote on that motion.
There's been a motion to reopen.
Number 3.
Number 3. And a second. So I don't believe there's public comment on that type. We don't have to have public comment on that procedural motion, so we can call the question unless there's debate amongst the members.
On the motion to reopen the matter, Member Craven?
No.
Member Craven, no. Member Nee?
No.
Member Nee, no. Member Cawthon?
Aye.
Member Cawthon, aye. Member Washburn? Member Washburn, excuse. Member Knebber?
No.
Member Knebber, no. Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Johnson, aye. Member Chan?
Aye.
Member Chan, aye. Member Goldman?
No.
Member Goldman, no. Member Williams? Member Williams, excused. Member Chu?
No.
Member Chu, no. Madam Chair, we have 5 noes and 3 ayes.
Well, I'm just going to
Thank
make
you.
a comment
So-
before we
so-
go on. Can I do that? I mean, this is about our overall procedure and how fairly the public is treated.
Can you do it briefly?
Yes, of course. I think it's good that we're going to develop a new procedure as to what happens when there's not a majority and the matter is not substantive, because I have a strong feeling that if we'd had 10 of our members here, the vote in the case, the DBI case, would have been different. And it's very difficult to, when you only have 8 people, it's very difficult to, sometimes it's difficult to get a majority vote. So, I think we're really here to serve the public, to make sure that there is maximum access to public documents. And, I wish there was, Ms. Sanchez, is there any way that, I can reopen this issue? Can I bring it up for the next meeting, or what can I do?
No, the item has died. Complainants are the ones that are free to, in future meetings or future time, file other complaints.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Can you read number 4, please?
Item number 4 is determination of jurisdiction on complaint filed by Michael Petralis against the Department of Public Health for failure to notify the public about a meeting and failure to provide the agenda.
Good evening, Mr. Petralis.
You haven't found jurisdiction yet. You better back up.
Oh, sorry. Jurisdiction?
Members, this one did not come through the complaint department, so I have no input from that meeting for you.
Thank you. Can we call the question on jurisdiction, please?
On jurisdiction, Member Craven?
Oh.
I move we find jurisdiction.
Oh, yeah, you're hard. Second.
Is jurisdiction contested, do we know?
Nobody came. Nobody put it up there.
Can you call the question, please?
On jurisdiction, Member Craven?
Pass.
Member Craven, pass. Member Nee?
Aye.
Member Nee, aye. Member Cawthon? Member Cawthon, aye. Member Washburn? Member Washburn is excused. Member Knebber?
Aye.
Member Knebber, aye. Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Johnson, aye. Member Chu? I'm
Aye.
sorry. Member Chan? Member Chan excused. Member Goldman?
No.
Member Goldman, no. Member Williams? Member Williams excused. Member Chu?
Aye.
Member Chu, aye. Madam Chair, we have 5 ayes.
What about Craven? She passed.
Craven.
Member Craven again.
Aye.
Aye. Member Craven, aye. Madam Chair, we have 6 ayes and no. Sorry.
You have 5 minutes.
Yes, I was just told by Chemo that there aren't enough commissioners to vote to, if you decide to take a vote, if you're going to pass along my complaint to the full task force. Am I understanding
This is
now?
the task force.
So just go ahead with what I got to say?
There is a task force and there is a quorum.
You have to get 6 votes to win.
Oh, I have to get all...
6 out of 7 is what he's saying.
Thank you. Okay. My name is Michael Petralis, and I have a complaint against the San Francisco Health Department regarding the STD control unit. on December 4th, the STD control people at their Mission Street office held what they called a community partners meeting. And at this meeting, they discussed syphilis epidemiology and some new programs, some new advertising programs targeting gay men to control and reduce syphilis here in the city. And my complaint is that there was no advance notice. This was not a public meeting. There was nothing listed on the DPH website. No announcements about this meeting appeared in the gay press. And what happened at the meeting, the reason why I know about it is because two people who were at the meeting leaked me the agenda and some of the documents that were handed out. And my concern is that DPH was conducting very serious business about controlling diseases here in the city, and they called it community. And community partners meeting, starting with that first word, community, the gay population was not told about this meeting. We were not invited, and therefore there is less engagement with the at-risk community for controlling diseases. Now, I believe the DPH had a responsibility to properly publicize this meeting, to let the community know what was going to be on the agenda, and to also take public comment. None of that happened. My complaint was filed a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember exactly when. And I see that the DPH has responded to you by saying that there are other ways I can communicate with DPH. And indeed, I can write them a letter. I can send them an email. However, at this December 4 meeting where they had the community partners, which they're now describing as the people who receive money from DPH, they were setting policy, they were deciding what kind of ads to put out targeting gay men, and the community and the public did not know about that meeting. I'd like for this to be on your agenda for the full task force to have DPH answer why exactly this meeting was not open to the public.
This is the full task force.
I'm sorry, am I before a committee of the task force?
No, this is the full task force.
Task force.
Yeah,
Excuse
you
me.
didn't come to the complaint committee, and then now we're hearing the full testimony.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you for that clarification.
Are there other parties of the complainant who wish to present facts and evidence? Seeing none. Is there someone from the city here? Seeing none. The matters of the task force for discussion and questions?
The only way that this could be a violation of our rules is if it's either a passive meeting body, which I don't believe it is, or if it is there's based on nothing Mr. Petrellis has told me makes it qualify as a passive meeting body, and nothing in the response from Eileen Shields suggests it's a passive meeting body. The only other potential one that could be implicated is 6771 public notice requirements, which are notices to residents residing in a specific area. That's not this situation. So unless I'm missing something, I don't see any provision that would encapsulate a meeting with the director of a unit of DPH with members of the community or with business interests or whomever. They're allowed to do that. So I don't see a violation here. But if anyone else has any other provisions of the Sunshine Ordinance which may perhaps impose a public notice and public meeting requirement that I haven't seen, because I sometimes do miss them, please let me know.
I know. Is there any other members' comment? Respondent and complainant have an opportunity for clarification or rebuttal, which means you have 3 more minutes, Mr. Petrellis.
Okay. Based on the agenda that was given to me and the handouts about the syphilis epidemiology and the handout about the new programs to control syphilis in the gay community. I think that there is a reason why the meeting should be open, because there are quite a number of employees of the department there, along with the contractors, and they are discussing and setting DPH policy. And I believe because it's not just a meeting with the STD control guy and one of the contractors, that is the reason why Sunshine doesn't apply. I'm saying because there are a number of DPH employees and the contractors who are getting the money to carry out some of the partnership programs, that Sunshine has to apply because they are deciding city policy.
Do you have an example of a policy that was set at this meeting? Or at one of these meetings? I mean, that was defined and decided at that meeting?
I have this handout, which is about the slides regarding some new ads that they're going to be putting out toward the gay community, studies that they have conducted that are helping to decide which ads to put up, and then they received a report about syphilis epidemiology and syphilis elimination. So these were the things that were discussed.
Right. But I think when they mean setting policy, that's not just about information. It's actually about making a decision.
Well, maybe I'm mistaken in saying policy, and what I'm trying to say is that because they're determining programs, that they're looking at the science behind some new advertising programs targeting the gay community, that they are setting a health agenda, that they are deciding which programs are going to get funding, which ads are going to be on local subways. That's where I see the Sunshine should come in, so we are able to watch them making those programs and looking at what is going into making the program. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, you did.
Okay.
We are at the point where the matter is with the task force for motion and deliberation. Is there a motion? Further deliberation?
I have a motion to find no violation.
I'll second it.
Is there any public comment? Okay. If there's no other comments, I think we're ready for a vote.
On motion to find no violation, Member Craven.
Aye.
Member Craven, aye. Member Nee.
Aye.
Member Nee, aye. Member Cawthon. Member Cawthon excused.
Absent.
Absent. Member Washburn. Member Washburn excused. Member Knebber.
Aye.
Member Knebber, aye. Member Johnson.
Aye.
Member Johnson, aye. Member Chan. Member Chan
Absent.
absent. Member Goldman.
Aye.
Member Goldman, aye. Member Williams. Member Williams excused. Member Chu.
Aye.
Member Chu, aye. Madam Chair, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Can you read number 5,
Thank
please?
you.
Item number 5 is a report by the Education and Outreach and Training Committee meeting on January 8th.
Unfortunately, our chair has just left.
She wander away.
No,
Her bags are gone.
She's gone for the evening?
I believe so. Is there any public comment on number 5?
None.
Seeing none. Number 6?
Item number 6 is a report by the Compliance and Amendments Committee on the meeting of January 21st, 2009.
The main thing we're grappling with now, aside from moving forward with amendments to the ordinance, is our relationship with the Ethics Commission. We're in the process of drafting a letter which we may or may not send. I think the consensus is that we do need to sit down with the Ethics Commission at some point in public meeting, determine what our relationship is, determine what their rights and responsibilities are when they get complaints referred from us, and what our rights and responsibilities are in getting those complaints to them and in explaining what our positions are. That's pretty much it. If either of the other members of the committee would like to comment, they're welcome to do so.
The only thing I would add is that at the next Compliance Amendments Committee meeting, we'll be going over proposed annotations for Articles 1 and 2 of the ordinance, the changes that we've approved, and also reopening those provisions for additional changes, either things that we've omitted or changes for consistency that we need to make, so that if members of this body or members of the public have any additional input that they'd like to see considered as to Articles 1 and 2, to please attend the Compliance and Amendments Committee and please submit that information. Same for departments and members of the public. We encourage everyone to attend.
Thank you.
The other comment I have is I talked to the Ethics Commission at a public meeting, and they agreed to have a joint meeting with us, which I'm hoping to schedule as soon as possible with Mr. St. Croix, which is having some trouble scheduling that. But it will be a meeting between the Ethics Commission and the Compliance and Amendments Committee, and any task force member is welcome to be appointed to that committee for that meeting, or permanently if you're interested in joining. But when that is set, I will make sure everyone has the communication about that, and you can let me know whether you'd like to attend, so you'll know the date and time and all that.
Just relevant to your previous remark, Chair Chu, the permanent membership of the Compliance Amendments Committee is now at 2, and respectfully I suggest that you might want to communicate that with all the members of the task force and see if there are any volunteers to join the CNA committee on a permanent basis.
The exciting CNA committee.
It can be at times. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this? Yeah, I attend, though. Mostly.
Thank you, Crossman. Just want to let the task force know that there's a move afoot to draft an alternate draft ordinance. The people I've spoken with in the committee are not happy with the draft ordinance that's being slowly processed, and there's action to go a different direction with that.
Is there any additional public comment? Seeing none. Call number 7, please.
Number 7 is Supervisor Records Report.
Supervisor of Public Records, I believe.
Members of the task force, Paula Jessen, Deputy City Attorney. I have provided you with 2 documents. One is the report on the responses to the petitions to the Supervisor of Records, and the second was prepared at the response of the task force for a report on court decisions that relate to the Sunshine Ordinance. And so there's 2 documents before you. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Do members have any questions? Can you talk us through the court decision document?
This was a...
I'm sorry. This is, for members, this is the last page of the report.
Actually, it's a separate document?
In our binder. It comes.
Oh, in your
comes
binder.
here for last.
Okay. There was one case, we only reported on cases where the Sunshine Ordinance was specifically addressed. The decision was based on the Sunshine Ordinance. And for this reporting period, there was just one, Lim versus the City and County of San Francisco. So the plaintiff filed, and I'm going to pretty much read it because I've got this information from the deputy who actually handled it. So the plaintiff filed an action against the city and various officers and employees of the San Francisco Ethics Commission. The Ethics Commission had denied plaintiff's request, so the plaintiff had asked for a copy of the investigation that the Ethics Commission had done about her. And the Ethics Commission declined to provide it on the grounds that these records were confidential under the city charter. And among various causes of action in the lawsuit, she alleged that the withholding of this investigation report about herself violated the Sunshine Ordinance. The city filed a demur, which is an action that says, as a matter of law, she can't proceed with these causes of action, these two that were based on the Sunshine Ordinance. And the city argued that the charter prevailed over the Sunshine Ordinance, and where the charter made it confidential, that trumped or prevailed over the Sunshine Ordinance. And the court agreed with the city and allowed the plaintiff to amend her complaint to base her allegations on state law, but precluded her from pursuing her allegations based on the Sunshine Ordinance, thus agreeing that the charter prevailed over the Sunshine Ordinance.
Thank you. Regarding the main report, do you see any trends, and how is this different from last year?
I don't. There are more petitions this year, at least 3 times more this year. I think I do see more new people, new petitioners this time than before. So it may be that there's more general public awareness that this is another avenue. I guess those were my only thoughts.
I didn't read it close enough to figure out how often it was your decision was in favor of the complainant and how often it was in favor of the city. Did you?
There were. It's hard to know whether to go on number of petitions or the number of issues. Roughly, I suppose there were maybe a quarter or the fifth of the situation where, some of these times are records like attorney-client privilege, like in the Laura Carroll one. There were a large number of records to go through, and there were some documents that, while they were between the attorney and the client, they didn't qualify within the privilege for some reasons. On the other one that comes to mind is the one on the mayor's office on the recommendations of the author. Again, there were 500 documents produced, but there were a lot more documents to go through and just see, and there were a few. So certainly, by and large, I think a number of cases it was moot by the time it was decided. The department had already provided. Those were the two. Oh, and then there was the, I'd say it's a relatively small percentage. Right. There was also the one with the fire inspection report where additional information was ordered disclosed. And in all cases, the department was willing to, there's no problem disclosing it once we identified it as something that should be disclosed.
Right. Do you see any trends within the departments? I noticed a lot of departments with just one complaint in your list, but there were at least 4 with multiple.
No, I can't say that I saw a trend. I've got to tell you, I tend to see, you're asking a good question, because I don't tend to see them, and I kind of tend to see them individually. What's the right decision? So no, I can't say I see a trend in the department.
When you said that an issue ended up as being moot because the document had been delivered, do you ever look at whether a violation occurred? For example, someone might ask for a document. It might take them 4 months to get it, and by the time you make your ruling, they might have gotten it already, but it did take 4 months to get there. And so
I have not, in all of the ones that I've done this year, and I did quite a few last year, once it was produced. And sometimes, we're urging, we're letting, sometimes it falls between the cracks, and you make sure that the right people get the information so they get on it and produce it. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a typical situation. But no, all of the decisions so far have been where they properly withheld, where they reduced, and in all the cases where they're moot, I just found they were moot and dismissed them. Our office did.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I would just like to say that while I disagree with some of the conclusions reached, it's clear that there was a lot of effort and time and energy spent by the supervisor of records in dealing with these issues and compiling the report, and I would like to thank her for those efforts.
Here, here.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item?
I came across when I came, even though I didn't have a case today to talk about this. First of all, on the one court case that revolved around Sunshine, I saw the arguments on that. They were very poorly argued, and I don't think it's in any sort of precedential ruling in any fashion when it comes to access to investigative records. In fact, the respondent in that case was representing herself as a lawyer. So I would disregard anything regarding that. The problem here is a couple. First of all, the role of the supervisor of records is not working. She's not acting independently. She's basically reinforcing the viewpoints of the city attorney. And what we have here is a structured set of responses to make it look like she's complying, but she's not. What happens is people put in records, they wait a long time to get them, finally they get fed up of waiting for them or getting pushed around by the department. They put in an appeal to supervisor records, and then she just waits until the department responds and says, well, and so she never has to rule. So, you've already been waiting 2 months to get a record. You finally put in an appeal to supervisor records. You wait for 10 days for her to make a ruling, and then she says, oh, I've gotten an email from this department. They've eventually responded. So she never rules on the fact that the records were never produced. And so what you hear is a structured set of scenarios where it looks like someone's making a lot of complaints that are not valid when they were valid. But, and oftentimes, she'll go off on vacation for 2-3 weeks. She's supposed to make a ruling within 10 days. That rarely happens. I brought that up as a complaint to you before. Basically, the role of supervisor records is not working at all. Not working independently in any fashion. The city attorney in her memorandum has said that they view this role as to work as an ethical wall, just like the attorney advising you, even though it's not outlined in the ordinance. That's what the city attorney said is their view of that role. And instead, you just see her continuing to reinforce the views of the city attorney, or to allow departments to comply by giving them more time and say, I'm not going to rule until they've given you a complete version of the records, even though they're already 2, 3, 4 months old. And then when they do finally provide the records, then she says, oh, the response was moot. I didn't have to rule. The other thing is that what happens, as I looked at historically at these the appeals and how they were treated as supervisor records, historically what would happen is someone would appeal, they would state their reasons, legal reasons for why they thought they should be the records should be produced, and then the supervisor records would respond on a point-by-point basis to each of the legal reasons as to why they did or did not apply. What has now occurred is just a complete dismissal, which is like, no, I'm not convinced, blah. And they don't even, look and respond to each of the legal points that you're bringing up. So there's no real serious consideration of the reasons why people are asking for the records.
Thank you.
I would encourage you to find a different role for this person in the draft ordinance.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, can you read the next item, please?
Next item is the administrator's report. We have 3 new cases that I just sent out yesterday, so we do not know whether it's going to the complaint committee or it's coming straight to the task force.
Okay.
Is that these 3, Goodman, and Petrellis?
No, it's one is by Rita Flynn against the Department of Telecommunications, and another 2 are public entities against the PUC.
When these 3 here say non-applicable, what does that mean? Goodman, Petrellis.
Because the questions and the complaints they presented were against departments that are not under city government.
That goes to just for clarification, the allegation or the issue that Mr. Petrellis brought up, that he wanted to bring a complaint against a nonprofit, a 501c3. Through the chair.
501c4.
A 501c4.
Sorry.
Excellent point. Where someone, I guess unless there's an allegation that it's a 12L entity, which is a nonprofit receiving funds from the city, I guess it would be appropriate, or the question to the board, task force to the chair is it appropriate for the administrator to make that decision of whether or not it's applicable, or is that a decision for the body or for the chair?
So you think that what you're saying is that for that organization, if it was a 501c3, right? Okay, never mind.
The question
if they
is
had gotten,
who is to make the decision of whether or not a matter is theoretically within the jurisdiction of this body. Currently, Chris made that decision, or the administrator made that decision. I'm not saying that's wrong with respect to this Michael Petrellis potential complaint.
Right.
And my only question is that appropriate procedure? Should there be, a discussion with our city attorney, or with, maybe there was, or with the chair of the task force on whether or not there's an arguable link to the Sunshine Ordinance? I personally don't believe there is one in this case.
Right.
But, for example, 12Ls are arguably within our jurisdiction, where nonprofit agencies have received a certain amount of funding from the city. So it's just a question.
Well, then it would come to the complaint committee, and we would hash it over there.
well, she's
No,
saying that it
it's
was
not.
dismissed. It didn't even get to you guys.
It's not even
Yeah.
getting to you because
Yeah.
Mr. Russell was saying no.
Yeah,
And
I'm sorry. I mean, that's two things. We have to decide a procedure, right? What are we gonna, where it goes, and then it goes to the complaints committee and decide the procedure there about how it would be decided. I think that's two separate issues that are connected.
So, having said that, would you guys want to work out a procedure for the complaint committee? I mean, one piece of information might be the potential complaint log for the last couple of years.
Respectfully, I don't think it's for the complaint committee to do itself. I think that is, because it's deciding about what is seen by the entire board. I think it's something that we should decide as a group and then take it to the complaint committee. Because I don't think that it's really about what is the proper procedure, like with everybody's input. It's not really, I think it's short-circuiting the procedure if we come and say, this is how it's going to be done. I think it should be something decided by the board, and then we take it back and implement it at the complaint committee.
Well, yeah, so if you guys decide something at the complaint committee, it would always come here
Yeah.
for approval. So it's not like it wouldn't come here. So the question is, how do you want to have this discussion? Do you want to recommend something, or do we want to have just an open discussion where we discuss
We'll
it
recommend
all at once and then,
Well, I'm open. I actually would lean to having an open discussion first, and then we can take those back, and then we can recommend something. I feel uncomfortable just us doing it.
I think appropriately, we can't have a discussion on this issue. This is within the administrator's report, but I think the chair can recommend that it be addressed in the first instance by the complaint committee, which to me would be the appropriate venue.
I'm fine with that.
And then if there is a procedure or policy that flows from that, it can come to the full task force. However, there can also be, in my view, on this sort of issue, a decision by the chair of what to do with those complaints. And the chair can decide to rely on the administrator to make that call, or require the administrator to talk with our city attorney to make that call, or the city attorney and the chair to make that call. So I'm happy either way. I don't think we necessarily need to go through a whole formal rigmarole. I leave it up to the call of the chair and the complaint committee.
do you guys have any concerns discussing it?
No.
Okay.
I don't speak for everybody.
the entire. Okay, why don't you discuss it there and
we will
come back with a recommendation.
Public comment on that.
Public
Chris,
comment?
can you put that on our agenda for the complaint committee? Yeah.
Hi, Kimo Crossman. I would hope that you very liberally allow people to file complaints against nonprofit or other entities. I'll point out to you that under 6729-6, there is a requirement that when such funds are provided or managed by an entity and not an individual, that entity must agree in writing to abide by this ordinance. That is not limited to profit or nonprofit groups. So besides the 12L provisions that are explicitly for nonprofits, there are other areas of sunshine that can be interpreted to apply to nonprofits, and I would not think it would be wise to allow the, not allow you or not allow a public hearing on decision about whether something should be heard or not publicly.
Thank you. Is there any other additional public comment? Number 10 is announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items. I did want to note the passing of a member of ours, Richard Sklar. And if you read the article that Chris set out, and thank you for doing that, Chris, he was quite a guy, including some pretty exciting stuff. I wish we had gotten some more time with him and been able to use his expertise. But I just wanted to address that. Please.
I spoke to the mayor's office this afternoon regarding funeral arrangements, and they said it's going to be a private affair.
Yeah.
And they haven't even asked assistance from the mayor's office. So.
Yeah, I saw that at the end of the article that it was all going to be private.
And if at the appropriate time, if perhaps the chair wanted to write the mayor's office and
ask him,
express our condolences and thanks for his appointment, and to encourage another appointment at the appropriate time.
Is there anything else? The meeting is adjourned.